in HD music with your news, weather, and traffic. This is Rizzo TV.
Our top stories here at Rizzo TV. The big picture. Breaking news: domestic terror attack abroad leaves over a dozen people injured and wounded. One person is in custody. The latest is next. And more breaking news: Governor Cuomo is looking to change the names of two Confederate historically memorialized streets in an effort to wipe out notions of supposed white supremacy. Details are ahead. Also developing, President Trump revealed his new executive order to bring infrastructure back in order across the country. The order is expected to increase countless manufacturing jobs, and the unveiling was made while Trump dodged questions regarding the Charlottesville Nationals rally this past Saturday. More information is coming up. And we have the latest on the Trump so-called quote-unquote moral equivalency that he supposedly drew between white nationals on the left and counter-protesters on the right. The president defended his original remarks and addressed the criticism of his initial response to the developments down in Virginia over the weekend. We'll keep you up to speed and posted on this story as well. Moreover, we have the latest information on North Korea finally backing down from attacking the U.S. military territory of Guam and now making good on their threats. A crisis officially averted. We'll tell you about what happened. Finally, alternate street parking regulations are in effect today after being suspended yesterday for the Catholic religious holiday. We'll bring you your upcoming holidays weather forecast and latest traffic information right after the news. That's all coming up today on Rizzo TV HD News.
Thank you for joining us here in this edition of Rizzo TV HD News on this Thursday, August 17, 2017. I am John Rizzo reporting from Tiger Heights, Brooklyn. We begin with breaking news here at Rizzo TV HD News happening out of Barcelona, Spain, where we have just learned a terrorist attack has happened in the beloved tourist attraction of Barcelona's Las Ramblas district. Police in the Spain city have confirmed fatalities and injuries following an alleged domestic terrorist attack. No numbers to those fatalities or injuries are known at this time. However, we are just learning right now that we have 13 confirmed deaths from this incident. 50 people are also being told by the police in Spain, and those numbers are confirmed to be injured. One suspect in connection to this terrorism incident is in custody right now by police. The U.S. consulate and the police in Spain are urging pedestrians to stay away from the area of the incident. A white van ran into a crowd with great force, and the driver is still on the loose inside the scene following the incident. Barcelona police have urged citizens and tourists to refrain from going to the area of the crime while they search for the suspect. A preliminary report from a local Spain newspaper is saying that the perpetrators of the incident were holed up in a bar. Police have blocked off the large and popular Las Ramblas street and have directed stores and train stations near the area to close. A helicopter is right now flying over the scene in pursuit of the suspect. Social media posts have been telling the story at this hour, with photographs capturing people lying on the street in the northern Spanish street earlier this afternoon, shortly before 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Police and other pedestrians were attempting to help the victims, with other videos surfacing that were depicting people screaming as they ran away from the scene. The White House is saying that Chief of Staff John Kelly is aware of the situation and is constantly briefing President Trump. Las Ramblas is the central boulevard that runs through the city and begins at the Plaza Catalunya at the heart of Barcelona, Spain. Cars can travel on either side of the pedestrian track in the middle of the street. Stay with Rizzo TV HD News for further updates. We're following another breaking story happening in the Fort Hamilton section of Brooklyn this afternoon, where Governor Cuomo is looking to change the names of two streets near the Fort Hamilton Army Base in Brooklyn, New York, after the U.S. Army denied the request of New York congressional representatives to change these street labels that hold the name of two Confederate generals. The governor is echoing much of the same sentiment of government officials, and they collectively feel that General Lee Avenue and Stonewall Jackson Drive in the Fort Hamilton Bay Ridge section of Brooklyn reinforce white supremacy ideologies. The development has become such a heated issue after occurring on the heels of the Charlottesville white nationalist rally just a few days ago on Saturday, where protests were made against the removal of a statue encapsulating Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Members from the U.S. Army in Brooklyn believe that the street names do not foster Confederate notions, but rather honor the men as people of our nation's history. No word yet if the Army's decision regarding the request will change, and the Charlottesville rally has been swiftly motivated Confederate statues to be removed, by renegades across the country, as evident already in New York. On Wednesday, two plaques honoring General Lee were removed from an Episcopalian church down in downtown Brooklyn. The plaque was put up to mark the spot where General Lee planted a tree while serving in the Army during the 1840s at the Fort Hamilton Army Base. He became a commander of the Confederate Army just 20 years later. Not only is Governor Cuomo attempting to make strides in the city in order to remove remnants of controversial representations of hate, Mayor Bill de Blasio has announced that a 3-month-long review will be conducted to examine all the hate symbols on properties across the 5 boroughs. Developing right now, President Trump wrapped up his visit in New York City on Tuesday at Trump Tower to meet with executives regarding improving the infrastructure of the country. On Tuesday, Trump announced that he signed a far-reaching executive order to eradicate and fast-track some allowed building regulations and to speed up the construction of roads, bridges, and pipelines. The commander-in-chief added that the order would repair such a badly broken American infrastructure system and would increase the number of manufacturing jobs across the country. Trump did his best to keep changing back the focus back to infrastructure amid questions regarding his response to the Charlottesville, Virginia white nationalist rally this past weekend. Currently, no legislation is in place to have a large financial package fund these infrastructure projects, although the president announced that he plans to pass a bill that would supply $1 billion for these nationwide construction endeavors. He added that he is not concerned about acquiring support for the infrastructure financial package despite the healthcare overhaul debacle down in Washington. Mr. Trump stood at the podium alongside Transportation Secretary Elaine L. Chao and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin at Trump Tower. He then revealed a head-to-toe length flowchart asserting how the permitting regulations to build a one-state highway he claimed in one state took 17 years to build. Headlining the new executive order, a rollback on the standard set back by former President Barack Obama, which required the federal government to account for climate change and sea level rise upon building new structures in America. President Trump is rolling back on that precedent. The order also established a one federal decision policy, quote-unquote, where federal agency would lead to work with others to complete environmental reviews and other allowed decisions for each assigned infrastructure project. The decisions on all federal permits would have to be made within 3 months, with agencies having 2 years to conduct environmental reviews for major undertakings. Established by one of former President Barack Obama's executive orders back in 2015, the Trump administration is rolling back the federal flood risk management standard to make changes to Obama's climate change agenda. The rule has been criticized by building trade groups and Republican lawmakers as costly and overly burdensome. However, environmental activists, floodplain managers, and even some conservatives previously tried to convince the President Trump and the Trump administration to keep it in place, with a rationale that it safeguarded critical infrastructure and taxpayer dollars. Additionally, Trump's infrastructure executive order did not regulate the private development of buildings to increase their heights as to avoid flood damage during intense storms. Turning next to President Trump's remarks regarding the Charlottesville nationalist rally and how reporters at Trump Tower on Tuesday intensely questioned his response, much criticized by many for not being more condemning towards hateful groups. The matter of Trump's moral equivalency between both the white nationalist protesters and counter-protesters has become a dire topic of controversy amongst lawmakers, the news media, and even the masses. On Tuesday, the president stuck with his original remarks by saying that he blames both sides for the deadly violence in Charlottesville, Virginia. And in another moment, he questioned whether the movement to pull down Confederate statues would lead to memorials to George Washington possibly eventually being destroyed. Trump refrained from reiterating his originally tactfully crafted condemnations of the KKK and the neo-Nazis from Monday, and instead remained true to his original response to the white nationalist rally that happened this past weekend. Bipartisan members of Washington and even his advisors criticized him for placing culpability on both sides for the civil unrest in the Virginia city. Trump noted that not all the protesters derived from ideologically hateful groups, putting down the leftist groups as extremely violent when they showed up at the rally to confront the white nationalists and the neo-Nazi groups that came together in Charlottesville. Trump was criticized for his original remarks regarding the tragedy and waited 2 days before naming the right-winged groups in the bloodshed that concluded with the death of a young woman following a car deliberately crashing into a large group of protesters. That Saturday, Trump accused the left-wing participants at the rally of being swiftly influencing that charge at the alt-right, calling some of the right-wingers bad as well. He added that members of the other side came violently charging in without a permit. Aides of the Trump administration advised the president to read a statement on Monday condemning the neo-Nazi groups from the White House diplomatic room. But from Monday into Tuesday, Trump troublingly observed from the cable news media that he had not done enough, according to their news reports, to address the situation in Charlottesville. He tweeted his frustration on Monday as accusing the quote-unquote fake media of never being satisfied, and was frustrated come Tuesday's infrastructure press briefing at Trump Tower. Trump eventually did denounce on Tuesday the racist groups that he named and called them repugnant towards American values. Trump's remarks regarding the rally on Tuesday sparked more extreme criticism, most notably from Republicans. Members of the GOP and even members of the U.S. military outwardly condemned the unrest caused by the white nationalists and other hateful groups, something many critics say that the president should have done himself from the beginning. Reporters became feistier as Trump improvised his remarks regarding the white nationalist rally on Tuesday, and Trump spoke candidly as he became charged with questions on Tuesday. The president, though, was determined to demonstrate that his initial reaction to the events in Virginia on Saturday were not spoken in error. Trump stated that his first statement was due to the lack of information that was presented to him regarding the Charlottesville events, despite television news outlets broadcasting images all morning this past Saturday of what was happening. Yet with the benefit of hindsight, Mr. Trump made it clear that he does not accept the increasing amount of criticism that he should have reserved his condemnation for the racist groups in Virginia. The president, moreover, did not diminish the murdering driver who purposely ran down a female pedestrian down in Charlottesville, Virginia, calling the suspected driver who killed Heather Heyer a quote-unquote murderer, but not considering the crime as an act of domestic terrorism. The suspect is being held without bail on charges of murder and malicious wounding. Trump then complimented himself and expressed deep appreciation regarding the words of gratitude received by the victim's mother, who thanked the president for his words of comfort and for denouncing those who promote violence and hatred. Trump next called the news media fake on Tuesday for not acknowledging his initial statement about the Charlottesville protests as quote-unquote very nice. Trump repeatedly excluded any depiction that nationalist protesters in the city were all neo-Nazis or white supremacists, and he commented that it was unjust to suggest that they were. Trump placed blame for the violence that also caused the death of 2 Virginia state helicopter troopers in a terrible crash on the leftist counter-protesters who went up against the white nationalists. He said that local town officials, he wanted to say, should decide whether the statue of General Lee should remain in place. Next now to the nuclear verbal rivalry with North Korea that has now finally been put to rest after the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, has backed out any intentions to attack the U.S. strategic stronghold of Guam in the Pacific. The autocratic ruler of the nation decided to not launch any missiles towards the U.S. territory. Kim Jong-un could change his mind if the U.S. makes any more reckless nuclear threats towards North Korea in his view, and should that happen again, according to them, North Korean troops would attack the United States head-on without mercy. The development came to light following Defense Secretary James N. Mattis warned that an attack could swiftly become a war, but no word yet if both instances are connected. Mattis referred to a classic Hollywood political satire regarding nuclear war to make the point that he was not drawing red lines or making unfulfilled threats to cause confrontation. Last month, Korea tested an intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time, and U.S. intelligence agencies furthermore have determined that Pyongyang can build a nuclear warhead small enough to fit on top of a long-range missile, though no word yet, however, if it can definitively target U.S. cities, specifically on the West Coast. Tensions began to rise as missile tests on the part of North Korea got underway a few weeks ago. The UN Security Council days prior passed additional economic sanctions against North Korea in order to curtail their nuclear threats towards the United States. And at the same time, Trump gave a stern warning that the U.S. would unleash quote-unquote fire and fury if North Korea continued to make nuclear threats against the United States. North Korea, in response, was looking at a plan to fire 4 mid-range missiles over Japan and into international waters at least 20 miles off the U.S. military major base of Guam. Mattis was not clear regarding how the U.S. would respond if Pyongyang launched a missile toward Guam to fall offshore as a show of force. Mattis reassured the press that the U.S. military would be able to make use of spy satellites, radars, and other high-tech sensors at their disposal, all of which track missile launches, in order to see if a North Korean missile would be immediately headed towards Guam. Mattis then suggested that the U.S. military would attempt to shoot it down with anti-missile interceptors on land and ships. Political analysts furthermore are saying that the latest announcement from North Korea is an evident de-escalation of tensions. In addition, Mattis and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson sought earlier to neutralize tensions in a report published by the Wall Street Journal, which indicated that the Trump administration did not seek to change the status quo regarding the regime or separation of North and South Korea. Moon Jae-in, president of South Korea, has also attempted to soothe tensions by promising to step up efforts of diplomacy to denuclearize Pyongyang. Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff General Joseph F. Dunford Jr. arrived late on Monday in Beijing to meet with Chinese military leaders. He met with Moon earlier at a U.S. Air Force base at about 40 miles south of Seoul, namely the Osan Air Base.
And stay with Rizzo TV HD News for continuing coverage on the latest developments of Donald Trump's presidency, right here on Rizzo TV HD News.
Your upcoming holidays, weather, and traffic updates are all coming up next. Stay tuned.
Taking a look at your current forecast readings right here in the tri-state area for Tiger Heights, Brooklyn. We're currently sitting at a dew point category right now. is yet again in the uncomfortable category. We've really been having this quite humid air mass for the last couple of days or so. We're actually sitting at a dew point exactly of 65. We were uncomfortable earlier, so we really are on the cusp of that, so that's why I still have uncomfortable here. So we're pretty humid outside, starting to be sticky, pretty much uncomfortable for this time of the day right now. And right now we're sitting at a dew point of 65. We were flirting between 65 and 70 for the dew point levels. So a pretty humid day today. Officially, right now, technically in the sticky range, but for the most part, uncomfortable dew point category for throughout the day today. So please stay tuned for your local forecast. For tonight, humid with clouds, pretty much muggy conditions. Temperature going down just about 8 degrees or so. Humid with clouds tonight and muggy because we still have these humid conditions and this humid air mass still in the area. Humid with clouds and muggy for your forecast for tonight. A low tonight of 72 degrees. And tomorrow, we are expected to see some scattered thunderstorms, precipitation chance really in your forecast for tomorrow, unfortunately. Here with scattered thunderstorms for your forecast for tomorrow, a high tomorrow of 81 degrees. And tomorrow night, going to be clearing out, a little bit humid because we're still going to have these lingering cloudiness and lingering humid air mass still in the tri-state area come tomorrow night. But we will be clearing out the thunderstorms and scattered showers. Scattered thunderstorms will be tapering off for your evening tomorrow night, so your evening commute shouldn't be too bad. But it'll still be quite humid, but yet still clearing out. Still pretty much a bit humid, not really as humid as during the day tomorrow because we have those thunderstorms still in the area, but less humid during the day tomorrow night. So for clearing out, a bit humid tomorrow night, a low tomorrow night of 74 degrees.
And thank you for watching this edition of Rizzo TV HD News, Weather, and Traffic. Remember to always follow us on Instagram at JRNewsman17 and on Twitter at JRiz11. You can also find all of our episodes posted on our Facebook page, Rizzo TV News. Thank you so much for watching and have a great night.